Local authorities asked for it. And it was not a hurricane, but a tornado that did this. It took just minutes for this Houston neighborhood to be destroyed. And the scene was repeated over the course of several days in mid-November throughout the southern United States.
Everything happened in about 5 seconds. The roofs were collapsing in other parts of the house and just crashing everywhere. And I just kind of hit the floor and then started crawling towards the other side of the house to get back.
At least 10 people were killed in Rankin County, Mississippi, and dozens of homes and dreams were destroyed. In all, mid-November tornadoes throughout the southern United States claimed at least 26 lives. When hundreds suddenly left homeless, there was little to be thankful for Thanksgiving Day. But across the South, as in Homestead, Florida and Kauai, there was nothing if there was not hope.
Band together, help each other out. It's not like, hey, where's the government, this and that, you know? Everybody just jump in, really. It's been like that, neighborhoods, all around the place I go. Everybody say, come on over and eat, we got a lot of food.
For Year in Review, I'm Chuck Roberts.
This is CNN.
In early May, the City of Angels became a hell on earth for many residents. Parts of Los Angeles burned as angry residents reacted to a verdict acquitting white officers who were videotaped beating black motorist Rodney King. The destruction was unprecedented in the U.S., and the city is still recovering.
Anger turned to action in Los Angeles. Five days of burning, looting, killing. The object of the rage, the verdict in one of the most celebrated police brutality cases ever.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of the crime of assault by force likely to produce great bodily injury and with a deadly weapon.
4 white Los Angeles police videotaped by a bystander in March 1991 as they subdued black motorist Rodney King with 56 baton blows.
Not guilty of the crime.
What more could you ask for? You have a videotape in this particular case which shows objectively, without bias, impartially, what happened that night. And it's something that can't be rebutted. It's there for everyone to see. It's the most objective piece of evidence you can have.
Not guilty.
I think that we were able to do what we set out to do, which was get the jurors to look at this case not through the eye of a camera, not through the eye of an amateur video, but through the eyes of the police officers who were confronting this situation on March 3rd, 1991.
To thousands of poor minority residents of South Central LA, the verdict was not justice. Many believe the mostly white suburban jury from Simi Valley was predisposed to believe the police.
As it got dark, the fire started, and then from then on all night it was probably hundreds of fires.
Hundreds of people smashed windows, turned over cars, or grabbed merchandise. The wave of violence rippled far beyond Los Angeles to cities nationwide.
Because Rodney King was cheating. He was cheating. He was cheating. That's why you're doing this.
In Los Angeles, the rioting quickly turned deadly. A television helicopter transmitted live pictures as a truck driver was dragged from his cab and beaten with no police in sight. In some areas, besieged police officers retreated, allowing mobs to grow unimpeded. Store owners ended up trying to defend their livelihoods with their lives. Governor Pete Wilson called in the National Guard, and a curfew was slapped on the city. President Bush ordered in the Marines and the Army. And Rodney King himself, silent through the trial, spoke.
Please, we can get along here. We all can get along. We just gotta, you know. I mean, we're all stuck here for a while. Let's try to work it out.
5 days of violence, $750 million of damage, more than 600 buildings burned, 51 lives taken. As the children of LA tried to reconcile what had happened, the federal government decided to bring the case back into the justice system.
What we are looking at is whether there was intentional infliction of excessive force.
Attorney General William Barr impaneled a federal grand jury that ended up indicting the 4 officers on federal civil rights charges. The trial is to take place in Los Angeles early next year. The city is also being put on trial by residents and business people angry at the police department's slow response to the violence. The white truck driver who was beaten as TV news cameras rolled wants compensation because safety officials did not prevent the unrest. Police Chief Daryl Gates took part in a raid to arrest 4 black men accused in the beating, but his credibility had already been damaged beyond repair by his failure to prepare his department for the riots.
It was mishandled, badly handled. It is not LAPD, it's not our style. Everyone knows what our style is. Our style is to go in and clean it up. And it was totally mishandled, totally mishandled.
Gates finally ended his 14-year tenure and stepped down as police chief in June, to be replaced by former Philadelphia Police Commissioner Willie Williams. Residents and volunteers began sweeping up debris almost as soon as the fires were extinguished. The president and presidential candidates were soon touring the area, talking of addressing the poverty and hopelessness that lay behind the riots.
I don't want another 4 years of denial, retrenchment, and neglect.
Today I'm announcing a $19 million weed and seed operation for the city of Los Angeles to weed out the drug dealers and career criminals and then seed those neighborhoods with expanded educational, employment, and social services.
Congress also quickly put in place a summer job program for cities. But a larger urban aid bill became loaded down with unrelated proposals and tax increases, and President Bush vetoed it the day after the election. The private group, Rebuild LA, headed by former Olympics organizer Peter Ueberroth, has been working to bring money into the inner city, but has been hampered by internal dispute and external criticism. 6 months after the riots, the scars remained on Los Angeles' streets. Many people who had lost their jobs or businesses were still living with the disaster.
We lost everything!
They staged regular demonstrations at the offices of the federal emergency management agencies to demand help in rebuilding shops, jobs, lives.
We got a lot of promises from government agencies, but nothing delivered. So after the 6 months, it's really horrible. We just thought there's no justice.
Long after the riots, the question of justice continues to reverberate in central LA as residents cope with the aftermath of the deadliest civil unrest in recent U.S. memory. For Year in Review, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
The end of communist rule brought new freedom to Yugoslavia, but with it came bloodshed. Ancient ethnic hatreds were renewed. and they exploded this year on the streets of what had once been a civilized land.